Thanks, Greg. Well, Andrew's coming to hopefully call in Mark Vickers, who is the property sales and leasing manager for us, to tell you a little bit about what he does. Just one thing on the Reg Shield Appeal Initiative funds. 15% of what you ask for, if you have raised those funds, are allowed to be used for your administration. Now, it's automatic. If you ask for $6,000 for food, 15% of that will be taken out of the allocation and put into your core account as admin. If you don't want that, you can have it transferred back, but it happens automatically. If you need $6,000 for food, remember 15% is coming out, so you need to ask for a little bit more. You've lost the internet. Ugh, not helpful. Do you want us to go to someone else first while you... All right. I'm glad Andrew's doing this because I wouldn't have a clue what to do. Welcome, Mark. Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay? Good. Excellent. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're having a lovely, hot, sunny day there in Coffs Harbour, and it's a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to talk to you today. So, my name is Mark Vickers. I'm TSA Property Group, so that obviously encompasses mines in the FM who are there today and I believe have presented to you, and also my colleagues in the strategy and development team who handle all of the major projects and procurement of new sites, etc. and buildings. A bit of background about myself. I've been in commercial real estate for about 30 years now, originally back in the UK where I come from originally. Then I was 19 South Wales state government, which brought me to Armdale and to Coffs Harbour on a number of occasions there, so I'm fairly familiar with your beautiful town. And I had a stint at Australia Post. So I've got a fairly varied background with all of that, but which I love working for is the role I'm currently in, supporting the Army. And that leads on to obviously the nature of our role is we're mission enablers. And I love that expression because that really does get to the bottom of what we're trying to do and achieve. Allow all of our beautiful people to continue the mission and serve those people. And we're there to provide that expertise in safeguarding the Army's best interests when it comes to commercial transactions and real estate. So we do a lot of work and work very closely with Kim and Barry and with finance and the division there, and also we do a lot of work for the some of the social streams. So that area of the business or the operation seems to be growing with government support finally, where they've realised the need there for social housing, for domestic violence, alcohol and drugs, etc. So there's a fair bit of work on with that. But more importantly to the people in the room today, I think that what's important for me to get across to you is that we do a lot of assistance for the core in terms of assisting in license agreements. So, for example, if we've got a like-minded missionary express or Alcohol Anonymous or something like that, where they come off and they use our space maybe once a week as a forum there to help people. Well, we are here to help you when you get those agreements in place or wanting to put those agreements in place. We can provide you with understandings of what it's worth in the marketplace and a market value for the space. And that'll give you an understanding of the commercial opportunities as they arise from day to day, and our opportunities there for us to generate further income to serve the mission and the cause there. So we have a number of those licenses, and we have my colleague Jess. She does most of that work, but really, I suppose I'm just throwing it out there to everybody that if you've got any requirements or you're looking at any surplus space you might have, or you're looking at a strategy at a site, then we really want to hear to help you and listen and serve your needs. I've had a couple of examples in the last couple of years where we've had surplus citadel buildings, for example. So then I've procured other religious like-minded groups to lease those out from us. One was in Lamia, where we got a Greek Coptic church who have now leased that out. And there's another one over in Rivervale, where we've got a lift is the name of a religious group that have taken those out. And with those, we're generating about, let's say $75,000 a year, which is a massive amount of money to serve the mission and go back into the coffers there to enable maybe further resourcing and really focusing in on mission expression. So that's what we're here for, and we are here to serve you. So if you've got any requirements whatsoever, by all means reach out. Another aspect I just briefly want to draw on, and I don't want to talk too long today because I have a habit of doing so once I get going, but we've done a lot of collaboration most recently with various other mission expressions. So setting up a couple of community of hopes, whereby we set up a centre. I'm doing one at the moment at Heathcote, which is on the edge of the National Park here on the outskirts of Sydney, and I've recently put one together at St Mary's. And with these sites, we're bringing together a lot of these streams. So, for example, in St Mary's, we've got Employment Plus who occupy space. We have Doorways. We have Money Care. So we have a lot of these other mission expressions jointly working together, pretty much as a sort of a facility for all to come to, and depending on what their needs are, for us to be able to serve them. And so I think that that's a really positive initiative, and it further demonstrates further collaboration, which is sometimes it's vital that we collaborate between the different streams. And so this helps nurture that, I believe, and best serve the communities there. So we've got the licenses when we have the leases, and also I do a number of sales transactions on behalf of TSA and acquisitions as well. So we're looking at repositioning assets from time to time, always trying to keep a focus on obviously facilitating operational space to serve the mission there. So that's really in a nutshell what we do, and as I say, working closely with the various other business units to provide an end-to-end service to you people who are, I suppose, can I say, at the coalface, who need our help, and we welcome the opportunity of assisting whenever we can. So in summing up, if you do have any requirements, if you've got surplus land or something, or you've got surplus buildings that we think might be able to generate some revenue, alternatively work with another community-based group to facilitate further operational needs being served in the community, then please reach out to us via Barry or directly to myself. I welcome any inquiries there. But look, I really feel that these forums that we're doing across the state are very healthy. And hopefully it allows people there to understand, well, we're here to help you. Please reach out. So anyway, look, I hope you have a fantastic day there. Sorry not to be with you in person, but if anyone's got any queries now, or if they want to maybe just refer those to Barry, then I'll be very happy to answer by exception on that. But otherwise, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I wish you all very well.
Thanks very much, Mark.
My pleasure. Anyway, have a lovely day, everybody, and very best wishes to you all.
Well, Julie's coming, your VR representative, which hopefully you all know. Just want to draw attention to one thing about Mark saying about selling property. The Salvation Army has sold property, and on occasions they have sold property to organisations that we're not really a fay with. We don't normally sell church properties as auction. We do it on an expression of interest, and if other organisations that we don't want to support make an expression of interest, we don't follow through on that expression of interest. So we try to protect our worship areas to be used by other churches or other organisations that are agreeable with our philosophies. Doesn't always work, but it's working a lot better than the old system, where I know of a number of buildings that are now being used by other faiths, and there are a lot of unhappy Salvationists because of it. Over to you, Julie.
Thanks, Barry. I'm Julie, Volunteer Resources Advisor for Northern New South Wales. I also look after Southwest New South Wales, Central West New South Wales, South Coast ACT, and one Sydney area. So I get around a large area. Hard to get to you all when you are that stretched, but we do the best we can. So I threw out what I was going to say, so we'll see how I go. The last few years, we've really been bogged down in Workday. It's here to stay. We have to get used to it. But we've been in this transactional phase of supporting the doing of the admin, of getting volunteers into Salvos Workday. But we sort of had a bit of a reset at the end of last year in volunteer resources and thought, it's time to move away from being transactional in Workday, and let's get back to what volunteer resources are here to do. And that's to support you in best practice in managing volunteers. And let's face it, managing people is hard work. It's not easy, but we're here to support how we can do that in best practice. So we want to get back to some of the projects that we just didn't get to because we were in this other space around having a framework around our young people. Our 12, 13, 14-year-olds, they love to get involved. What kind of framework do we need? So we're going to be focusing on getting that in place so we can have that for you all. And how young do we go and what do we have for our young kids? And the other one is getting our disability and inclusion framework out. It's been sitting there waiting for that final approval, so we're hoping we're going to have that for the volunteer framework very soon. And a framework for the government-sponsored volunteers, so your work for Dole, Centrelink Mutual Obligation and your community support, the CSOs. So we want to get the frameworks around that so we can provide that information so you can have clear understanding of what's involved if you're going to go into those areas of volunteer engagement. So the other part we've been busy in are the Salvos stores transactions, the transitions, and I think I'm up to 18 now in my portfolio, so it's been keeping me fairly busy getting that done as well. And obviously in this area, I think we're probably, if we're looking at the coastal area, this group, probably still got about 3 more that we're working on to get through. And then we're focusing on, it is Workday related, but we're hoping it's going to be something that you'll find good, and that's called an evergreen job requisition. So we all do the job requisitions to create our empty positions to put our volunteers into, and we get the paperwork and we paper on board them. but we're trying to move away from that, and where people have the capability to do online, we're trying to move to that space. We all know how to use QR codes because we had to survive COVID. Let's see how we can use that when people do have the skills to onboard online. And that saves you from getting all the papers done, collecting the working with children checks, getting paper police checks done, and signing paper agreements. And then you've got to upload it all because we're trying to go paperless. The evergreen, we set one job rec up as an evergreen, and all your job recs for all your different positions will be connected to the evergreen. And what we do is we can have an open link, which means you can advertise it on the TSA website if you're looking for volunteers. But we know, especially in church, you know who your people are and you know who's going to be doing the roles because they're part of your congregation. So the thing that got us excited was we can make it private, which means it doesn't have to get posted anywhere. So you can provide the link to people. One church did a presentation in church that they're going to do a bit of a drive on getting people involved in their kids programs. So people could just sit in church and quickly take the QR code, and now they'll just, oh, I didn't know this person was interested in doing this. And so now they'll meet with these people and have a chat, what are you interested in? And, work the appropriate role that they might be best at to support in. But they were able to click, apply online into Workday, and it didn't have to get advertised. And then your role is to move them forward in each of the stages. But if they need a working with children check, they'll provide that. If they need the referees, they'll provide those, and we then just have to do the reference check form. They'll do the link to go to Fit to Work, and then they'll sign an electronic agreement. If you want to find out some more about that, happy to chat because it's probably very confusing, but happy to chat that one through if you think that's going to be beneficial at your call. We think it will be. We're very excited about it because it's all about making that admin part less for you. And we set the evergreens up for you, so that's even better. The other thing we're focusing on this year is training. It's optional, it's not mandatory, and it's how we think we can help you build your capacity to manage people, in particularly volunteers. And the training's focused on the life cycle of volunteering, which hopefully you're all aware of, but it focuses on your planning, recruiting and attracting volunteers, selecting and inducting, onboarding, managing volunteers, and then reviewing your volunteer programs. It's an opt-in, opt-out. We have a questionnaire. We don't believe everyone needs to learn every single stage of the volunteering because you all do, you probably have strengths in different parts that you do really well. You can choose to jump into whatever sessions you like, but we've also got a questionnaire you can jump in and do, and that will guide us to say, hey, you're doing this really well, but it'd be really beneficial if you come to these sessions on inducting volunteers. And each month we're going to have a different section of the life cycle online training. If you don't want to do the online training, you can view the online trainings afterwards. You can choose to do reading, and you can do consultations with your VRA. So there's different ways. Everyone learns differently. Some prefer to just read and do it in their own time, at their own pace. Others just like to get in there and do the whole lot in one big caboodle, but it's however you want to do it. The toolkit has had a real big revamp, and it's quite self-learning now, and there's a lot of topics on there that you can read up on the different areas. And then we're also going to have some hot topics. And the biggest hot topic would be complaints and grievances. So we are going to have one on that will be coming later in the year. But certainly when you do get those complaints and grievances, we really encourage you to reach out, because if we can deal with it in the best way as soon as possible, we're going to get the best outcome. So what I will do is I'll put an email out with all the information about the training. It's also on the toolkit. If you want to jump in, feel free. if you want to do the questionnaire, I'll then be in touch just with going through the results and what we think will be beneficial for you in the learning of that. And as you know, you can call me, you can Teams message me, you can email me. I'm here to support. Thank you.
While Cole's coming to talk to us about WHS, just in respect to our volunteers, we had the Mission Ready campaign to ensure that all our volunteers were recorded in Workday. Now we have to ensure that they have received the appropriate training. We are only a bit over 50% successful in having our volunteers having that required training. It's called mandatory training. I make it required training because it doesn't quite sound so legalistic, but reality is they have to be trained, they have to do it. You've received some support on how to do it. If you have difficulties, please contact people. Let us know so we can work out what we can do to help you ensure that all your volunteers have received the required training and that we can assure the Salvation Army and anybody else that our volunteers have been trained. Thanks, Cole.
Thank you. I'd just like to remind everyone that on Solve, we expect you to put in any of the incidents that happen around your workplace. The easiest way to get in there is from Salvos Central and find the little blue squares. There's one for self-safety. Click on that and you can go straight into a form to either put in an incident, put in a hazard or a near miss. Near misses we want to know about because sometimes they could be quite catastrophic if it had been, you know, for instance, a big tree falls on a building. If no one's in there, it's fine, but if the building's full of people, it's going to be pretty catastrophic. Difference, a hazard and incident. A hazard is something with the potential to cause a problem. As soon as something happens, it becomes an incident, it's not a hazard. We get them mixed up all the time. People are always putting things in that have happened as a hazard. Once it's happened, it's an incident. We also expect you to do a self-inspection on Solve. If you open up Solve, the top left-hand corner of the page is three lines. If you click on them, opens a menu. The middle column is Add, and it's got all the different things you can add on. One being an inspection of your workplace. We expect you to do an inspection of your workplace every 6 months, and also to do an evacuation or fire drill. It's now called emergency evacuation. We want you to do one of those, preferably every 6 months. The law says that every worker, which includes your volunteers, has to have a fire drill or emergency evacuation at least once per year. So to cover all your people, you really have to do a couple a year. When we come into a workplace, you look around and you think, okay, what's the most likely things that are a problem here? It's just sitting up there. I always look at the stage and also electronic stuff because we've got leads running everywhere, so we try and keep them as neat as we can. Make sure each one of those things has been tested and tagged. Another thing I know, we've got lights up here. How do you get up and work on those? with a cherry picker? Yeah. We've had a few incidents with those over the years. The new core at Parramatta, these are on a winch system. You push a button, they come down to waist level, you work on it, you push a button and up they go again. Very good. Another thing I noticed sitting there, Colin was saying before about if we had a catastrophic bomb explode, say it was out there and that all that end collapses, where do we go to get out? To the fire escape. Can we get out of there with a one-handed action at the moment? When you've got people in here, we really should have that blind up, because it's restricting the access. So if, as I said, if something catastrophic happened and you've got 120 people in here, you're going to have a stampede trying to get out that door. The person at the front trying to get the blind up is going to be crushed before we get a chance to start getting out. Yeah. But as council or fire brigade come along and they see you having an event and they see that green light, they say that's a restricted access. You've got to have that blind up while people are in the room, or they can fine you. But anyway, that's probably all from me at the moment. If anyone wants to talk, I can run you through how to get quickly onto Solve, if you like. Okay. Thank you, Barry.
Thanks very much, Cole. If you want to talk to Grant, he'll tell you about how to organise that for your church, because Grant was the reason why that is what it is at Parramatta. So lunch is scheduled for 1 o'clock. In the back room there are tables. Each mission enabler will be sitting at a table. If you want to come and talk to them, you can get up and have lunch at 1, go back and keep on talking or whatever, and when everybody's had enough, we'll all go home. Thank you very much for the day. Once again, thank you very much, Andrew, Jeanette, for allowing us to use our facilities, and particularly Andrew for the technical challenges that he's met very well today, and for Catherine for preparing the food for us out the back. All yours to enjoy as much as you can and make the most out of the day.